Welcome to Positive Atheism English channel. Today, from the book The Life and Times of Gora, written by Mark Linde, I am going to read out the 11th chapter, Gora on Atheism and Free Will. In this account of certain aspects of Gora's philosophical writings on atheism, I will emphasize his concept of free will because it played a central role in his philosophy of atheism and it helped tie together his thinking as a philosopher with his practical work as a social worker and activist. Although Gora was not a Marxist, in effect he agreed with Marx that the philosophers have only interpreted in the world in various ways the point to change it. Please note that my approach will be that of a Westerner with a background on Western philosophy. I can claim no expertise in Indian philosophy. While I recognize that Gora by background and education had roots in both Indian and Western thought, my discussion will tend to emphasize some affinities of his thought with certain important movements and tendencies in 20th century Western philosophy. In some instances, there is little doubt, I think, that he was familiar with the writings of some of the Western philosophers whose thinking was similar to his own. In other instances, it seems that he arrived at his positions independently of his Western contemporaries. In reviewing Gora as a writer on philosophical topics, one of the first things I have noticed is that he tended to use certain philosophical terms in that might seem to a Western reader to be rather idiosyncratic ways. Some of this was simply reflective of his Indian background, but some of his usages were indeed idiosyncratic. For instance, he used the term atheism to mean much more than a disbelief in the existing of one or more divine beings. This usage reflects his Indian intellectual background. In fact, it turns out that he used the word atheist as a translation of the Sanskrit term Nastika. The Sanskrit term, when used by Indian philosophers and historians of philosophy, covers various schools of thoughts and rejected the authority of the Vedas. Buddhism, Jainism, and Charvaka have all been labeled as Gnostic schools. More colloquially, however, the same Indian term has been used also to denote atheists. So, when Gora described himself as an atheist, he, on the one hand, meant something similar to that Westerners would mean by that term, in as much as he certainly denied the existence of gods, but his usage embraced also the broader connotations of the term Nastika. He stood against the authority of the Vedas and of the social institutions and customs associated with them, including especially the caste system and the belief in the law of inherited karma. Gora's approach to the philosophy of religion was distinctly verificationist. He regarded theological language as meaningless because it is not verifiable in as much as it doesn't express testable propositions about the world. This position is similar to that taken by the logical positivists as well as by Antony Flew in his famous essay Theology and Falsification, in which it is argued that religious language is lacking in cognitive meaning because it is not falsifiable. But while Gora's position thus seems similar to that taken by the logical positivists, I do not see any indication that he had read their work at the time that he wrote Atheism. There is no God or even later. One indication of this that he blamed logic for promoting false ideas like theism. The logical positivists would not blame logic for promoting theology and metaphysics. Instead, they would blame distorted philosophical interpretation of logic, interpretations which had, in their opinion, been dispelled by the work of modern logicians such as Fries, Russell, and Wittgenstein. Gora had an interesting take on causality. He had rejected that he called universal causality because he objected to the idea of a first cause and because he upheld free will. In regard to the first issue, both Hume and Kant had rejected the idea that he would legitimately and meaningfully speak of the cause for the universe as a whole. In this regard, Gora was in agreement with them in rejecting the cosmological argument for the existence of God. Yet, I do not think that either Hume or Kant saw this as weakening or undermining the principle of causality as such. Causality for both of those Western thinkers was a principle that operated only within the realm of experience and so could not be expected to apply to an extra empirical realm such as Kant thought exists. Gora also saw causality as being limited by the existence of free will. He urged that we know of the existence of free will on the basis of experience, including especially our own experiences of making choices and he regarded free will as inconsistent with causality. He even held that a person forms certain desires without any cause. He made little attempt to explain how this could be possible. Instead, he said that man is not merely his physical body but is a freely individuality with consciousness, and then went on to deny the theistic position that this is to be explained by man having a soul. In my opinion, however, the theistic position makes more sense than that Gora's position on free will. If humans are indeed gifted with this ability to break or transcend the laws of natural phenomena as described by science, then that is something which requires a special explanation. So, I detect an inconsistency in Gora's philosophical thinking. He was committed to a generally naturalistic outlook, but in regard to human beings, he made exceptions that are not very different from the ones that theists and other supernaturalists make. In fact, he seems to me to have been a supernaturalist when it came to human free will. But of course, this was not his intention. I suppose that by accepting the concept of free individuality and consciousness, while dismissing and he regarded as the theistic concept of soul, he meant to reject any convincible attribute such as transmigration or eternal salvation, damnation of the human mind or soul that he would regard as supernatural, whilst allowing for contra causal free will by retaining in his concept of individuality with consciousness something which I regard as supernatural, since it seems to me that there is no natural explanation of how an individual forms desires without any cause. Gora introduced into his discussion of free will some idiosyncratic terms when he wrote about what he called materialist theism and materialistic theism, and described materialism as a godless theism. It turns out that materialist theists are not people who believe in the existence of the gods, but are simply materialists whom everyone else would describe as atheists who espouse determinism. Gora was correctly, in my opinion, critical of the Marxist concept of dialectical materialism, which he saw an atheistic because it requires man's surrender to natural laws or to historical forces. In this and in some other ways, his critique of Marxism resembles those that were published in the late 1930s and 1940s by certain Westerners. His rejection of dialectical materialism for being theistic is not unlike critiques written by Lucio Colletti and Sidney Hook and by Karl Popper in his famous rejection of Marx's own historicism. While I would agree as to the demerits of the dialectical materialism, I would also note that the Gora was apparently unfamiliar with the positions of Western compatibilist philosophers who have maintained that determinism can be reconciled with our experiences of freedom and moral responsibility. I will return later to this point, but for now, let me just mention that to insist, as Gora did, that atheism requires belief in contra causal free will would have seemed strange to philosophers like Bertrand Russell, W.V. Quine, Ted Hondrich, Patrica, and Paul Churchland, all of whom have rejected belief in the existence of the gods as well as in the uncaused desires. For Gora, not only the Marxists but also their other writers might appear to have been theists without their knowing it. I should mention also that Gora did not echo Kant's defense of free will. Kant held that free will exists in what he called the noumenal realm, the realm of things in themselves, which is unknown to us, rather than in the phenomenal realm, whereas Gora held that the existence of free will is confirmed by experience. The fact that a concept of free will was so central to Gora's brand of atheism thus raises the question of where he derived his concept of free will. In this light, it is interesting that he had been on close terms with the eminent Indian philosopher, educator, and statesman Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. Radhakrishnan helped Gora following his dismissal from PR College in Kakinada, helping to secure for him a post as lecturer at Hindu College in Masulipattnam. It has been reported that during this period, Gora had conversations with Radhakrishnan. He may also have read Radhakrishnan's important and famous book, The Hindu View of Life, of lectures delivered at Oxford in 1926. In the course of that book, Radhakrishnan placed considerable emphasis on the notion of free will and attempted to reconcile it with the law of karma by arguing along the following lines. The cards in the game of life are given to promote our ideals. We do not select them. They are traced to our past karma, but we can call us as we please, lead that suit we will, and as we play, we gain or lose, and there is freedom. It seems to me quite likely, though one cannot be absolutely certain of it, that Gora would have been familiar with this aspect of Radhakrishnan's philosophical thinking and would have found it useful. Thank you. We shall meet in the next episode again.
Please download Samaram multi-channel app and watch your favorite channels from your mobile. App available on Google Play Store and subscribe to the channels. For more videos, please subscribe to this channel Positive Atheism and activate the bell icon.